Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Topics After Dusk with your girls D and Lida, Freedom Growers. We are here for another episode of Faith It Friday, and we are deeply honored to have the mayor of Cedar Hill here in Texas with us tonight, Mr. Steve Mason. Go ahead, Lida.
So yes, again, welcome, Mayor Mason. We are so glad that you are joining us tonight. I know our time is sharp, and so we are here sharp, and we will be completed sharply.
Yes.
So everybody, y'all already know. I hope your pens and papers are ready. We know that more nuggets are going to be dropped tonight. And again, like we said, we just have all walks of life coming in and just sharing their faith walk with us. And so here's just another person that has used their foundation of faith to just excel in their life on all different levels. So I don't know what level of faith we're going to hear from Mayor Mason, but whatever it is, it's for us. It is for us. So get your faith notes ready, people, ladies and gentlemen, whoever coming on. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to heart it up. Okay. And we love y'all. Okay, go.
Hey. Hey Tamika, while you're out there in Vegas enjoying it up, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Mama, for tuning in. Appreciate your presence. All right, Mr. Mason, Steve, tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. Well, thank you for considering me. I guess I should say Happy New Year to everyone. This is probably my first, I guess, interview for the new year. So you'll be forever remembered in 21 how I kicked it off. Well, maybe I'm speaking too soon. Let's see how this thing goes first. But My name is Steve Mason. I'm honored and blessed to actually be before you. I know Miss D Anthony for a long time. If last, I mean, it's been a while since we actually had spoken caught up, but from what I remember, you're an educator and you was giving back to our community from your leadership. So I appreciate you thinking of me and asking me to come on. I'm honored. A little bit about me. Yes, I am blessed and humbled to be the mayor of Cedar Hill, a place that I actually kind of grew up from when I was a teenager, actually, and never thought I'll ever be in this position, of course. But I'll get to that in a little while. Now, most of you probably know, but in Texas, our I'm not sure how far we're reaching, so I heard you mention Vegas, but in Texas, our local elected officials, the majority of us, we do not get paid. Now, if you work for a big city like Houston and Austin and Fort Worth, Dallas, those are full-time positions. So yes, they get paid. So in other words, local elected officials, it's not a career, job, not the local officials. So I do have my own career, and I'm also blessed to be able to be an entrepreneur. I have an engineering firm, and this year we will be celebrating 27 years in service. I'll talk a little bit about my business as I'm talking about my journey, but I am proud to say that we are 27 years, and I have actually been the president of the organization for about 19 this year. So that's a little bit about me. Do you want me to just roll into my story, or you have some questions? Or
Absolutely.
okay. Well,
We are sitting at your feet.
huh?
We are
Oh,
sitting at your feet.
okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, well, I guess I'll start with. I'm just going to keep it real with everybody, and really just let my heart speak. That's where I'm at. Please don't judge me. But so growing up, I had a wooden spoon. Things wasn't given to us. We had to work for everything that we had. I guess I'll start off when I was about, I don't know, maybe see, was I about 8 years old? probably about 7, 8 years old, I was homeless. I didn't have a, I didn't have a place to stay. I stayed in a shelter, probably at least two shelters. And, you know, to be honest, I had a meal every day. I didn't know it was a shelter. I was good. I was, at that time, that was something stable and consistent. So I didn't know what that was like. But my mom was still, grinding and trying to give a life for us. So we kind of got our own apartment eventually. I remember living in Fort Worth, going to third grade, and that's the first year that I actually started liking school. I had an awesome third grade teacher. I still remember her name to this day, but I never had a chance to actually tell her her impact that she had on my life. But I just felt like she was the type of teacher that, and she wasn't one of us. I mean, I went to Eastern Hill High School, so Eastern Hills Elementary. So if you know the area, it's that's you could say that was probably the hood. Woodhaven is what we call the district in that area. So I grew up in Woodhaven and went to Eastern Hills, but the teacher was not one of us. She was an Anglo woman, and she just made learning fun. And to go into my next grade, into my fourth grade year, I'm still trying to figure things out. And we didn't really have the lights on all the time, and didn't really have a meal. But again, I'm thinking that's normal. Everybody's living like that. I recall not even having um, clean socks going to the gym. I got holes in my socks, and it's kind of embarrassing though. But I just remember those type of days. So to fast forward, well, I guess my fourth grade year, growing up watching TV, I didn't know no better. I remember there was a young man, didn't know him, never seen him before. He walked into the classroom. He's pushing in a TV into our classroom, and we were about to watch a movie. And somehow I don't remember. He get to talk about my mama. Well, back in my day, when you use those two words, yo mama, those are fighting words. So I got up, and the teacher is fourth grade now. The teacher turned around, and we fight. She don't know how it came up to that. So yeah, my mom went up there, and I recall I probably got uh, suspended, or maybe in school suspension. Maybe I did after school. I don't think I stayed home. I just don't remember staying home. So maybe I just got after school detention for a couple of days, and I honored that. And also, the thing that really woke me up, um, and again, I remember living in a bad neighborhood, um, around, if you grew up with Tupac, he says, you know, they used to, what's the saying? They might be selling drugs, but they the one that show me love. That was kind of around our area. They was the ones you kind of looked up to. They was the one who was cool. And they just kind of gave you the wink and the nod. You kind of just felt like, hey, this is our neighborhood. They wasn't bullies, is what I'm saying. But anyway, in the fourth grade, I remember that I had a friend that I called close friend. We didn't have cell phones or anybody numbers. I didn't even have a phone in my house. Now I think about it. But I remember just sitting down on the ground in recess, and I had my hands behind me, and I said out loud, "Hey, if anybody step on my hands, I'm a." Now I'm in the middle of the playground now. Like kids running around me, I guess I'm all bad, right? And I remember saying, "Anybody step on my hands, you're gonna get it." And somebody stepped on my hand, so I just turned around, just impulse, instinct, and I remember just hitting this guy in the stomach. And he ended up being one of my closest friends, and I felt so small. Yeah, he was smaller than me. I wasn't a big guy, but he was much smaller than me, and I just felt like you know a higher being speaking to me. Saying that if you don't wake up, you're gonna go the wrong direction. At this point, you got to remember, I'm a single mom being raised. I had no father at home, and I just felt that that was the message. So anyway, my fifth grade year, no, the end of my fourth grade year, Yeah. No, yeah, still my fourth grade year. My mom ended up moving to Euless, and that was honestly a culture shock. Euless at that time, you know, if you remember Saved by the Bell, I literally, and Saved by the Bell was going on at that time. I literally felt like Saved by the Bell. I mean, there was like one black girl, I think, in my whole fourth grade class. You know, ironically, her name was Lisa as well. You know, and I think there's a few other black boys, and but everybody else is white. And I think I did that my fourth grade and part of my fifth grade year. And at my fifth grade year, my mom was, just wasn't really, excelling as far as being able to take care of us. And so my dad came and said, "Hey, allow me to, to take him, in my care." So he did, and we ended up going to Dallas. And my at this time it's the early '90s. I don't know what my dad was doing. I mean, my dad was a college educated man, and he seemed to always his apartment was always clean and neat, and he just he was a strong enforcer. Of course, you don't test my dad, back then. But he was, highly respected. But this time, as a kid, I don't know what he's doing. But now that I'm older, I'm just, I'm, I guess you could say I'm doing voiceover in my life. So as older, I'm, talking back. But he was starting his business, which is an engineering firm I was talking about earlier. I didn't know that. So he was actually starting it out of his own home. So he had an apartment, and I remember he had a I think he had like a old Volvo. It was pricey. This is the '90s, so I think the Volvo was probably like late '70s. But he kept it clean. I mean, it was smooth running, nice paint job. I mean, my dad always kept it clean. Well, I remember coming out one morning and somebody actually broke into the car just for some change, and just remember the look in my dad's face, saying, "You know what? This ain't safe for my boys. I need to hurry up, work hard to get us out of here." So he did. If you're familiar with Dallas, he moved us to Keys Park, and we ended up going to Keys Park. And so from fifth grade and sixth grade, we was in Oak Cliff, and my dad was working out of his home, and then eventually he ended up getting his own little office suite with just about maybe one or two offices. And there was some late nights that he might have came home, but at this point, it was just me, my brother, and my dad. It was the boys. We was holding our own. Walking home from school, some mornings my dad would drop us off, but I guess majority of the mornings my dad would drop us off, but some we had to catch the bus home. School gets out at 3, and work, usually takes about after 5. So, we on the path of actually seeing some prosperity as far as our lights are always on now, and we got clothes on our back. Take for granted, Levine's was where we were shopping. If you know Redbird and 67, it's still there today. But yeah, that's where we shopped at. And earlier I talked about us being homeless. I remember going to a shelter and picking up clothes. So I try to always give to the Salvation Army every year, just because my dad told me, he's like, "Hey, they was there for you. There was a resource for you at one point. So try to give back every year." So I try to do that. Anyway, so back to when I was at the end of my sixth grade year. My dad married who I call my mom now. And and we ended up moving to Cedar Hill. So my seventh grade year, we moved to Cedar Hill, and again, I'm leaving from Oak Cliff to Cedar Hill. And at that point, Cedar Hill was majority, I would say majority Anglo, and but it wasn't a culture shock, because there was enough of us there in my seventh grade year. But I didn't really, and so I didn't say this earlier, but basketball was kind of like my little love. So you got to understand, this is probably early '90s. So the Bulls was winning. Michael Jordan was winning at that time. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. Now, take for granted, I couldn't afford no Jordans. I couldn't even afford a T-shirt with Jordan on it. But it wasn't even about that. It was just seeing him, winning and with class and things like that. So basketball, that was kind of my thing. I think I was very athletic. I was one of the fastest in the school. I was probably able to play football, but my dad only wanted me to play one sport, and I get it. He was working all the time. He didn't, he kind of wanted some structure. So I didn't challenge that. That was one thing he didn't do with my dad. You didn't challenge him. So I just chose basketball. It just was my favorite sport. Now, looking back at it, maybe if I would have played football, I probably would have had a little bit more of a college scholarship or maybe some strong interest. But I stay with basketball. And so I go to seventh grade. I'm leaving Oak Cliff, coming to Cedar Hill. I'm looking at all these other guys. I don't know anybody. And they put me on the B team in seventh grade. And I was like, all right, let's roll with it. Man, I'm over here averaging about 20 points a game. I'm killing it the first two games, on the B team in seventh grade. Well, the A team in seventh grade, they were getting beat, so they put me from the B team to the A team, and I ended up being the starter on the A team, and we win it. So I ain't lose at all in seventh grade. Went to the eighth grade. I don't think I lost at all in the eighth grade. But when I went to freshman year, I was on, the freshman team, and I went to JV. Now, I guess I'll pause there. When I was probably, I'll say sophomore year, at this point, I'll take it back. Going into my freshman year, I guess 96, my dad's business was about 2 years old. So during the summer, I went to go and work, with him. And so what I do is a geotechnical engineering firm, and what that means, it also has a laboratory where we test soils and concrete and those type of materials. So there was some science and math that was involved with the laboratory, and honestly, my dad had an engineer where he'll give me some lab assignments, and I would, do the calculations, and I would prep the samples and all of that. Well, when I went into my freshman year in school, I think we must have had biology or something. I killed it. All the other students are struggling. I didn't really know that I really was, gaining scholastic knowledge when I was actually working, hands-on in the field, and I was killing it. When I got to math, which was probably algebra or something, I killed it. I'm getting it. I mean, I'm just getting it. But I'm not applying that it was because I was helping out during the summer. So I'm A's and B's. Oh, I didn't say this. Now, when I was in the eighth grade, there were some kids that who I thought was cool. Now, again, I come from Oak Cliff, so grades wasn't really what made you cool. But in the eighth grade, there were some kids that I thought was cool that I just assumed that they were just getting by. Now, my dad said if I wanted to play sports, I had to get a 75. So I just aimed at 75, just make sure I was above that. Well, these other kids that I thought was cool that wasn't really smarter than me, they were making A's, maybe a few B's. Well, I then challenged myself to go and start to be an AB student. So when I went to my freshman year in high school, I was an AB student. And carried on throughout my high school career. So it was really more of me seeing that I'm not going to limit myself to a ceiling. You know how scripture is. I'm not going to limit myself to a ceiling. You can tell me, people can tell you how far you can be able to go, but it's up to you to be able to know that the universe is beyond your reach. And it hit me early that to know that I can be able to do that. And which, of course, is a win-win. My dad loved seeing my grades as A, B, college, GPA, and all of that. So as I move forward to, throughout Cedar Hill, I'm starting to see more of us, started to come to Cedar Hill, and Cedar Hill just started really evolving. Something else that my dad did during my high school career was he was very active in the community. So as he was building his business, he was living in Cedar Hill. At this time, Cedar Hill was growing, and he was an engineer. And it was a two-way street. He was helping out, the public works departments and park and rec, and he was kind of giving them some insight about how's it work in engineering. And therefore he ended up getting the contract. So he's working with them, and they giving him, allowing him to work in the city. He's giving back to the chamber, and so when he's giving back to the chamber, sometimes he'll bring me along, and I'll help out, and I would help out with golf tournaments and things like that. I'm not knowing he's exposing me to networks. I'm not knowing he's exposing me to other professionals. I'm just there with my dad. I'm hanging out. I'm helping, but I'm not really understanding the the what's the word I'm looking for? The servant leadership that he's actually exposing me to. So anyway, to move forward, I graduate, from high school, and talking about basketball, we was state ranked. I think the highest state rank was number 2 in the whole state. So our basketball team was pretty strong back then. As a matter of fact, my last high school game was against Chris Bosh, and at that time he was only like a sophomore, I think, and the team that he was on, which is Lincoln,
Right.
they took us out.
Was it Lincoln or was it South Oak Cliff?
Lincoln. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lincoln. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We might have came to that game. I don't even think we
Yeah.
knew you then.
Yeah. So that was, we played them twice that year because they wasn't in our district, but we played them in the Dr. Pepper tournament, which that's a big thing if you know about Dallas basketball. And we both played in the championship, and they barely beat us. So of course, next time around, we're like, all right, we got their number. We're gonna, be prepared this time. Man, they had some amazing players on that team, and so that was my last high school game was against Chris Bosh. So I ain't feeling too bad about it. But it just goes to show that I think people playing sports is key because you learn leadership, how to react, how to rise against adversity. You approach a game with a with a game plan, with a scheme, and then you got to make adjustments while you're in battle. I just I think that also helped me become a leader, honestly. So you know my sophomore year, entering my sophomore year in college, um, entering my maybe entering my junior year in college. I lose my dad. My dad passes away. He was at the age of 42 years old. And at this point, I'm going to school. I'm going to college. I'm commuting. I was going to school in Arlington and going to school at night, trying to help out my dad. Don't know what I want to do or what I want to be when I grow up, but my dad needs some help. I can work. I can also go to school, and I was going to school for construction management, and I wanted to do something. So, my dad passes away, and I'm basically a manager, and I have other employees that I'm managing, and I'm answering calls, and I'm running the lab, and all this at this point. So I'm 21 years old. I'm working underneath my dad, and then he passes away, and I had some employees, and I still have one employee with me today that my dad hired. That was 19 years ago. Excuse me. And I take pride in that, to be honest with you. But anyway, there was a couple people that came up to me and said, Steve, you know what? I think you can do this. You can keep this company going. And to be honest with you, that's all I needed to hear. Family, nobody else wanted to get involved. I was working with my dad already. And when I told my mom that, hey, I want to continue on with the business, I felt I had enough confidence to do it. Take for granted, I understood the technical aspect of it. I was going to school, but I did not know the front office stuff. I did not know how to do the business development. I didn't know how to do the the marketing and the accounting, all the front office stuff. But from the technical perspective, I knew how to do it. Well, the city of Cedar Hill, my dad had accounts with them and contracts with them. And, they honored my dad's contract. Here I am, 21 years old. They honored the contract. Now, if that isn't, God reaching out, giving me that push, I don't know what is. So I wanted to make sure that we keep our customer service strong. I wanted to make sure that I stay active, involved with the chamber. I wanted to make sure that we do our part. And I did that. So for about a year, 2 years, I exclusively had the city of Cedar Hill contract. Well, the school district was also going through a bond program at that time. So I'm, reaching out and saying, hey, how can I do some work for the school that I'm not to? And
Steve,
of
I
course,
remember that because I came to you and I was like, hey, I'm going into teaching. Hey, what's going on? He's like, y'all come to Cedar Hill. But, never did.
well, this was 2003, 2004. So I don't know if I knew you back then.
Not then, but like a few
Oh,
years later, not
yes,
long
yes. We
after.
had another bond. Yes, you're talking about that one. So I'm still 2021 right now. I'm 23 years old probably. So I remember going up to the school district and I said, actually, well, I'm about to make a connection with you in a second about that. But I remember going to the school district and I said, I want to be a part of that project. So they gave me a little small school edition. They said, if you do well on this, then I'll give you the other one. So I personally made sure that project was going to be smooth. And then they gave me the new middle school project, which is now called Bessie Coleman. And I did that project. So I did that. And then in 2005, the opportunity came. Somebody somehow gave my name to Texas Instruments. At that time, they had the biggest project in the state of Texas. And they interviewed me and two other firms. And I even brought a sub with me, some big partners that, had pretty good name in the industry. Well, they called me for a second interview and they didn't want me to bring my partner. They just wanted me. Again, I'm 25 years old at this point, and they just wanted to talk with me and just to make sure that hey, I don't know about those guys. I'm feeling you though. And again, I'm feeling like I ain't feeling myself. I'm being professional and I'm trying to let them know that I really want this, and you can know that I'm going to make sure that this project be successful. They gave me a shot and we did it. So uh, now, during the time that I got that contract, the city of Cedar Hill came to me and said, "Hey, I can't just let you be exclusive. I got to go out to RFP. I got to have other people that can get the work." So it worked out perfect because the transition from when I had the contract with the city of Cedar Hill, I just didn't stay there. I didn't keep all my eggs in one basket. I was still venturing out to other opportunities, and ended up working out. So I had city of Cedar Hill at this point. I had the city of Cedar Hill contract, I had the city of Dallas contract, I had the school district in Cedar Hill contract. Now I'm working on um, Texas Instruments, and now at this point, I'm by myself. I don't have a matter of fact. I'm trying to think. Yes. So the connection, Darlene, is the contractor for Bessie Coleman and and this other school, ninth grade center, which I didn't do that one, was Turner Construction. So if you know where I'm going with that, so that's kind of where I got involved with Turner. Now I didn't know Mr. Anthony at the time, but eventually, of course, through networking, I had to go up there and try to meet more people in the office. But anyway, just want you to know that Turner Construction was my first, um, big contractor that I had worked with. Now at this point, I'm thinking, all right, I got to build a pipeline because if I keep, getting the work and doing the work, I'm not going to grow. So how could I do that? So I seeked out to be able to have a project manager, and I found one. And now we're rocking and rolling. He had basically the skill to be able to manage the projects and then keep the relationships, he retain those clients. So whenever they get new work, we can get other work. I ended up turning into more of a strategic, uh, you know, looking out for strategic opportunities. So I was looking out for the big tech stock contracts or the DFW contract. I didn't say this. When my dad passed away, he had three contracts that he signed off on and was about to get started. One was Dark. This Dark contract was a 10-year contract. We don't see those. So it was a 10-year contract. and 2 DFW contracts. One was Terminal D. So so I'm managing, City of Cedar Hill. I'm managing Terminal D. I'm working out here on a Dart, and so looking back at it, it's kind of good speaking about all of that. And I take it for granted, I'm just in my 20s. I'm, 2
Right.
years.
Wasn't Turner part of Terminal D? Or Terminal
I
E?
worked with
They was a
Austin
part of something around
Commercial.
there.
They might have been
Man,
part of the team, but Austin Commercial is with who my contract was
which is where somebody is now.
with.
That's
Full
crazy.
circle.
That full
Yep,
circle.
full circle. Yeah. But yeah, so I did have those again. So I have a foundation, and I just needed to be able to go and try to pursue, because I'm in professional services. So those are not bids. I got to submit my qualifications. They got to be, I'm going against other professionals as well. So it's not just like you show up to an estimating bid opportunity. You just turn in your best, your and receive the low bid, and you got the job. That wasn't what professional services work like. You got to submit qualifications. My qualifications at this point, we was only 10 years old, going against other firms who are 25, 30 years old, and they got, you know, 10 engineers and 50 employees. So it was challenging, but I still prevailed. I guess to fast forward, where I'm going with this is because the city of Cedar Hill had my back. I wanted to give back to the city of Cedar Hill. So about 2006, I wanted to apply for a board. So I am active in the chamber. I'm on the board, but I wanted to do something directly with the city of Cedar Hill. I wanted to give back because they was there for me when I really needed it. And I joined the Planning and Zoning Commission. I did that for about 4 years and became the chairman. And I said, you know what? I've kind of learned all I could learn on P and Z. Either I'm gonna run for council or I'm just gonna stay focused and be a businessman. So I checked out the stakeholders in my community, and they kind of gave me the thumbs up, saying, "Hey, I think you'll be a good, think you'd be a good asset in Cedar Hill." So I said, okay, I'll go and I'll give you the short version, but I'll go and campaign. So in 2010, I ran for city council, and I was successful. And I was successful for another 2 terms. So I did a total of 3 years, 3 terms with the as a city council member. And then in 2019, the current mayor at the time was going to retire as mayor, and at this time I'm mayor pro tem, so I'm second, in command, and I ended up running, for mayor, and I did have an opponent. As a council member, I never had an opponent, so that was new for me to, but I wanted that. I wanted, to have the accountability and go out to the community and maybe touch areas that I haven't touched or find out if there's anything new that's going on. So, I embrace, that type of competition. Other than some of this recent, I digress. But anyway, so I ran for mayor, and now I'm the mayor of this beautiful city, and we have mayor prayer breakfast every other month. So the first Thursday in February, first Thursday in the even month of the year. So February will be our first one in 2021. We have mayor prayer breakfast. And I think the city next to me, Mansfield, I think they got their first black mayor. So I got a friend who's reaching out there, and he's a pastor as well. So I think I'm gonna do something different. I don't think we ever did this in previous, but I'm thinking about having 4 different mayors throughout the Metroplex, or at least 4, to come and pray. I think that would, I think we need a sense of healing, and see some unity and go across the color line, to go beyond the borders of our city, in order for us to be able to pray. So I'm working on that right now. I haven't heard to see if the mayor in Mansfield had a chance to confirm it. I get it. He just got elected, So, I kind of really don't want to, do the whole mayor thing if he's not a part of it. But I may just still reach out to maybe 4 other mayors and maybe just include another round of mayors to come to the next one. So we'll see. I'm the mayor. I guess I can make that call, right? Um, but essentially, I mean, here I am. I get, every week we have a pastor here, and he, consistently, pray for our city, and that's, I got an email today from a young lady that I say young lady, she's a senior, but from a young lady, and the subject message was just thinking of you. I read the email. It's a prayer about me and my family that she's keeping us in our thoughts and protection, and I hope that everybody stay healthy, and I just feel so rejoiced to be able to be in this position right now, because I have heard other mayors in other cities, they get death threats, but in my beautiful city, I get prayers, and I just invite that, and I release it too. I pray for everyone in my city as well. So that's my story in a nutshell. You're talking about a young kid who grew up with a wooden spoon that couldn't, thought it was normal to not have lights on and didn't have a consistent meal, to now to be able to, be an entrepreneur and give back to his community. And I got two newborns basically in my house now that I'm really working super hard to make sure that they have a better life that I had. And I just feel blessed, honored, humbled, to be in the position where I am today. And that's a little bit of my story. Of course, I kind of condensed it down a little bit, but that was on my heart, and that's what I share with you today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What I know for sure is what your dad gave you was he left a legacy. And at the time, you had no idea what was going on, but he knew that he was creating something that will outlive him, and has outlived him, and will live through your kids and your the rest of your family, generational. And you are touching so many lives. I know in Cedar Hill and surrounding areas, Grand Prairie, DeSoto, Duncanville, all of those different areas. I know that to see a Black man in this position, in a place that, before may not have had as many or anyone. So I know this is huge. And I thank you. I do want to ask, has there been a moment where you just said, you know what? I don't I don't really want to do this. Especially going in at 22, 21, 22, 2021. It's like, man, this is a lot. This is heavy on my shoulders. What am I to do? How did you get through that?
Well, I had some tough times. I remember those. I don't ever recall saying I'm gonna throw in the towel. Um, but I get it. I totally get it. I mean, again, when my dad passed, he didn't have a will. He didn't. There was no trust fund. I mean, I had to climb out of a hole. Even though my dad had contracts, that didn't mean that there was money coming on the other end of that. I had to go earn that. And whenever you get a new contract, you ain't getting paid for the first 60, 90 days. And the reason why is you may begin work that first month. Then you got to submit an invoice after you do 30 days of work. Then an invoice is not supposed to get paid for another 30 days. And then that person, if they, on their game, they may pay you after that 30 days. More likely, they're probably going to pay you, post that. So you working for basically free for, about 2 months. Well, after you get that first check, then it's every 30 days, but you got to get there. So you talking about 90 to 120 days before you start seeing consistent check just for one contract. But I'll tell you, so I didn't have, any life insurance money or anything like that, or I didn't walk into a bank account, to swim in either, like Donald Dunk or nothing. Um, so yeah, there were some tough times, but in order to get through it, especially when I was younger, I'm gonna tell you, there was no partying in me. I was all where I was first one in, last one out the door. I did that for about 6 years. I tell some of my closest friends the first time I ever went out to a club was I was like 28 years old. You know, yeah, I mean that was the first time I ever went out, and I didn't know what you order at the bar. You know, give me some ice water. You know, I didn't know. I'm teasing, but I'm serious. I didn't know what to order at the bar. That was part serious. So I just heard somebody. I was ear hustling. What he order? Okay, yeah, give me that too. You know, but you grow, and I remember those tough times, and for someone who's been broke before, I don't know which NBA player I heard this from, but anyway, you hear a lot of people who's I think Shannon Sharp said this, but whenever you been broke before, you know what that feeling is. For some reason I'm thinking it was Kobe, but you go to bed thinking at night, you know, you sleep is like anything can happen. I got to make sure that I continue to keep busting my butt and working hard. So, but anyway, to answer your question, did I ever feel like giving up? No. There have been some tough times. I mean, things coming from left to right, and you know, not to use too many. I know it's a faith page, but Biggie had a song called "They Praying for Your Downfall," and that used to be in my mind. Other people they need to be successful too, and if I'm being successful, I'm eating off. I'm taking from their plate. So I had to try to keep all of that in mind to know that there's enough food for us to eat. Yeah, everybody, there really is. There's enough. There's enough contracts out here where we can all, still be successful, especially in our market. So I didn't feel like I had to take nothing away from anybody. But me being a young black man growing up, they didn't want me to be too successful, and I had to keep that in mind. So I had to play the game. I mean, you can picture me. I'm walking in with a suit. That's even though I'm an engineer, I'm walking in with a suit, and I'm trying to let people know that I'm serious about being a part of your team, and that's why I had to present myself that way. So there's a lot of things with that question that I could kind of unpack. But did I ever feel like giving up? No. But were there some tough times? Absolutely. I mean,
I
we just made
knew
it through it. What's
I,
that?
I knew it. There wasn't a towel in sight through your whole story. I said, ain't no towel there. Ain't no towel there. Oh, come on with the question, D, because I know the answer is no. I know it's no. It just
Yeah.
one thing after the next, you just took it on, and it was just whatever. It is what it is. This is what has to be done because that's just what you always saw, even from the time when you weren't supposed to see the brokenness. You lived in it, but you never saw it. You never felt it, And it's like you've never seen someone throwing in the towel. That hasn't ever been your exposure. You never heard though. Oh, I'm tired. I want to give up. I want to quit. So that's just always been in your family's makeup. It's like what towel? Who's what towel? Throwing a towel? What towel? So I already knew. Nope, ain't no towel. Mm-mm.
I'll say this. I didn't say this, and I think this is very key. When I took over, the business, I had to stop going to college, and it was really in my heart for me to be able to continue my degree. So I tried to do it. It was just too difficult for me to do that. But I'll be proud to say in 2014, I did go back to school. I went to TCU and I did finish my MBA. And that was, now I'll say this, and I'm not discouraging anyone at all because I learned a lot, coming out of that program. But I feel like I'm just now digging out of that grave from 'cause when I took time out for me to be able to go to school. So you got to keep in mind, I'm going to school trying to get my MBA. I'm still an elected official as well, and I'm trying to run a business. Now, take for granted, I wasn't married back then. I didn't have any kids back then, but I could just imagine what the challenge is if you was going back to school and you had a family. That's I honestly I'll be praying for you because to overcome that, that's a major accomplishment. Because looking at it, my life right now, no way in the world I can be able to succeed in that. So that's a strong person right there. Honestly, you got my respect. So anyway, I just wanted to say that I also went back to school and it was on my heart to do it, and I'm glad I was challenged to do so.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, I don't have any more interview type questions, but we like to do a fast round if you have a couple more minutes to spare with us. We
Sure.
call it I always lightning round. I forget what words to use with this one.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
So the first thing that comes to mind, was this good for you guys? Steve, thank you again. Fire it up in the chat, you guys. So number one, who is your hero?
Obama.
Obama. Nice. Number two, and we've heard so many tonight. I didn't even know this was going to be what we talked about, but what is
Lightning
your
round, D. Lightning round. Let's go.
oh, what is your favorite childhood memory?
Oh man. Um, probably playing basketball. Playing organized basketball.
Organized basketball.
Yeah.
Does your family have a motto, spoken or unspoken?
Does my family?
Mm-hmm.
Like me,
Like
my head
you
of
are,
household family?
yes.
Um no, I don't think so.
No. All right. What is one thing you will never do again?
Oh wow. I'm sorry. You gotta have to throw a whole lot of lightning on that one. One thing that I would not do again.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, this is my journey. I can't say that I wouldn't do anything again.
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is my journey.
Yeah.
I embrace where I came from. Not everything was all pretty, but
Mm-hmm. It made you who you are today.
it made me who I am,
Yeah.
and I love me. So.
And number five, on a scale of 1 to 10, how funny would you say you are?
Funny.
Mm-hmm.
Is zero oh well, y'all laughing, so I guess I give myself a 7.
He said 0, 1 to 10. No.
Right.
7. I give myself a 7.
Okay, 7. Hey,
Yeah.
it's your choice. You get to choose. I'm sure you're funny to you.
I'm assuming 7 is funnier, right?
Funny, yeah.
Like no funny to funny, or
Yes.
oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to cut myself short.
Right, don't cut yourself short. You get to choose. Oh, it's been a blessing. Thank you. I appreciate you for saying yes. I hope we don't get too far into your sleep time. I know with 4 kids, especially 2 under 1, that's some fun times.
Yeah, it's truly a blessing. I love it, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, this is therapy for me. So I didn't know what to expect. Usually I go to interviews, but this didn't feel like an interview. So thanks for allowing me to share your story. And I don't know how many people out there heard that. It might be some close people out there. They're probably talking about me now. But anyway, I appreciate it. It was therapy for me to get some stuff off my chest. And I guess you could be my official counselor now. I could just sit on your couch and just let it all out.
Like, look, D, I got something to talk about. Come on in.
That's it.
Because, hey, the door is open. We do have what we call Where Are They Now episodes. So as the year progresses, if there's something that's going on in Cedar Hill that you're like, hey, I want to share this with your audience, with your listeners, whatever, you are more than welcome to come back on and share. I really like the idea of the mayors of around the city. So, I'm gonna stay tuned and see how that goes. And
Okay,
really
praying.
watch for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and really watch for
the
that.
first Thursday. If you just reach out to me that week of February, and you can share with your listeners, we're doing it virtually now, so it's on Zoom.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the first Thursday in February.
I think it's like February 11th. No,
4th, I think.
4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, February 4th.
And
okay.
And it's at 7:30. So we added an hour. We cut it off. We're done. So 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m.
Okay. Awesome. And I will definitely pray to make that the other mayors will say yes, and that will be amazing. To link arms with other communities will be a blessing, because right now it is definitely time for healing.
I agree.
And to reach across the aisle
Yeah,
to
I
get this
agree.
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That is another episode of Faith It Friday with Freedom Growers. We thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Mayor Stephen Mason, for coming in, Mr.
Thank
President of Mass Tech Engineering. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lida.
We out.
All right, you guys. See you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. After dusk. Bye,
Have a
guys.
good night. Thank you again, Mayor.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure.